How you get that? 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 How you get that?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 5th graduation of the High-Tech High Graduate School of Education. We're really delighted to see so many of you here, and this is a really proud moment for all of us, those of us who've been engaged in this effort to rethink graduate education in education, those of us who've been doing the heavy lifting over the last couple of years, our students, and especially the families. We know that this is a day of family acknowledgement and some family recognition as well, because we know that none of our graduates who are going to be coming up here this afternoon would be where they are without the support of family and friends. So it's a day of acknowledgement in that way as well. Can you hear me back there? Can everyone hear me? Okay. So we really want to spend a lot of time honoring our graduates, and I've been told we want to spend very little time hearing from the president of the Graduate School of Education. That would be me. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Larry Rosenstock, who is the founder of High-Tech High and the dean of the Graduate School of Education, for a few words of welcome. Larry. There's another ground roll. I'll tell you in a second.
So for all of you family members who have someone who's going into teaching, who wondered whether they're crazy like my parents did, it's a great calling, and I just feel so thrilled to watch these teachers now have their own launch velocity and to be part of this. Please, for those of you who are not with us, please do come back and visit often. Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to congratulate all of the folks who are in the Leading Schools program. This program started about 3 years ago with the idea of bringing people together, and it started with just about 5 educators in its first year from one country, one continent, and now we're up to 18 graduates spanning 3 continents across the world. And so it's just awe-inspiring to be with people who are changing their schools, taking risks, and really transforming the lives of students every day. So I'm going to first start with the Galaxy Education School, and I'm going to ask them to come up in just a second as a group. But the Galaxy Education System is located in Rajkot, India, and it's a large system of schools that serves over 8,000 students. This year we were blessed to have 8 educators who embody what it means to be a 21st century educator. Whether it was through their use of blended learning, the creation of a school cantina, each of them repeatedly put the learning of their students first. I visited MOC, as it's known, last year, and we were struck by the gregarious and loving nature of this campus. Situated in Adelaide, Australia, these teachers work tirelessly with an at-risk population and strive to make the lives of their students better. This year, the teachers in my program created innovative projects, led professional development, and modeled to their peers and students what it means to take pride in their work. We are so blessed to have them in this program, and I look forward to seeing their passionate work that will continue to develop at this site. I want to thank Lynn Simons, their principal, for providing us with an opportunity to work with this entirely wonderful, great crew. I'm going to ask them to come up. First up is Katrina Axford, whose critical friend is Jeff Robin. Katrina is an artist. When I first met Katrina, I was struck by her willingness to learn. She takes risks as an artist, and her courageous spirit is contagious. She models what it means to be curious and thinks outside the box. I'm so glad to have met her, and I'm confident her work will continue to inspire others. Ashley Budding, whose critical friend was Melissa Cochran. Ashley is a thoughtful and reflective teacher who always puts her students first. Her positivity and love for her students is infectious. She inspires me to be more reflective about what I do and always make sure that my students' voices are heard in the classroom. Candace Cupu, whose critical friend is Ruby Rodriguez, and Candace is not here, so we're just going to say something about her, because Candace is actually awaiting her very first child. So one thing that Ruby said is, I was honored to work with such an amazing educator. Her dedication to infuse play within education for younger students is unparalleled. She is reflective, mindful, embodies what it means to lead from behind. Congratulations, Candace. Emily Granson, whose critical friend is Kara Littlefield. Emily was an inspiration every single time I spoke to her. She is energetic and passionate about transforming her school. What she has accomplished in the last year has truly been awe-inspiring to watch. Tom Griffith, whose critical friend is Brandon Cohen. I'm so impressed with how Tom brought project-based learning into his school. He leads by example. And through his stellar projects with strong connections to his community, like the aviation unit, he created excitement and interest among his students, parents, and community leaders. Bravo, Tom. And last but not least, Emil Zankov, whose critical friend is Tim McNamara. He's passionate about sharing his love for computer science and video games with students and colleagues. What's cool is that even though this is true, he himself has some ambivalence about video games, but he sees great promise in the field. I admire how Emil encourages colleagues to use Google Apps, and also how he sees project-based learning as a way to engage all his students. And lastly, he's just simply a joy. Sakina Bahamal, whose critical friend was Benjamin Kruger. She is an incredibly hard worker. She did projects where she listened to students. They even experimented with different structures of getting feedback and input so they could hear different voices. She did projects that were connected with the outside of the school, and her students took on big projects, both with the cantina and with... First up is Jean Humphreys. Her critical friend was Jessie Wade. Jessie writes that what she was so inspired by Jean was her connection to nature. One of the questions that Jean asked about her school is, what is the role of the introvert and nature in the 21st century? Her dedication to her students and the willingness to bring students back into nature reconnected Jessie to her work. I'm probably going to murder your name, Tom, by the way. Tom Marconi. Marcuccini, I knew I was going to murder that name. His critical friend is Deanna Driscoll. Tom has inspired me during this process by diving right into the deep end and not knowing the outcome of everything, and realizing that it is an enormous component of the project-based learning process. It is incredibly apparent to me that he built strong relationships with his students this year and has opened up to new ways of learning himself. I want to have the fortitude and the energy he does. Joe McCrae, whose critical friend is Ryan Gallagher, writes, Joe is a truly inspirational teacher. From the intricate clocks he helped create to the optimization of projects that brought calculus into the real world, Joe helped kids see that messy math is sometimes the best kind of math. And last, certainly not least, is Winnie Hunsberger, whose critical friend is Stacy Lopez. Winnie is an inspiring thinker and writer. Her thoughts on teaching and leadership always spark new ideas for me and my own practice. I've always appreciated learning and growing along with her this year, and admire her for the work she has done making connections between students, families, and teachers. She is a leader. And that is all of our folks from the Leading Schools program. I want to thank all of them for their wonderful work this year and coming to San Diego a couple times a year and sharing their work. They are truly inspirational teachers. Thank you.
What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Each person here today has responded to this question with courage, compassion, and action. They have pursued ideas both wild and precious, and have inspired others to dream wildly too. The past couple weeks, as we've been listening to graduates reflect on their learning and their presentations of learning, a few themes have emerged, and I just want to touch on them briefly because they kind of apply to everybody who's graduating today. The importance of listening, really listening, and being eager to act on what you learn. Number 2, that when you let go, step back, and trust kids, they surprise you, and then they help you to become the teacher you always wanted to be. Number 3, that learning happens in communities where people of any age are engaged in work together that really matters, and feel that their peers honor that work by celebrating it and pushing it further. 4, that leadership is about facilitating and engaging in authentic conversations, not being at the center, that it's best when it's about reaching out, inviting others in, and inspiring greatness in others. 5, that research is not about proving something, but is about a process of understanding something more deeply. It's about what happens to ourselves, our kids, and our colleagues when we listen, remain flexible, and take risks, or as Kurt Vonnegut says, when we push ourselves to continually jump off cliffs while forming our wings on the way down. And that above all else, it's important to look for the bright spots, because they are there even when we least expect them. And the more that we can do to call attention to them and build from them, the more positive and lasting the change will be. As the Little Prince said, what makes the desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well. The job of teachers and leaders is to find that well. So these things represent what I think we're about when we're at our best. And I know that I and everybody up here feels that we're better educators and people for being reminded of them and having worked with this group. So can I have my advisees come up, please? The first time I met Mindy Ahrens, I was immediately struck by her passion, determination, and complete willingness to throw herself into new learning experiences. Charlie teaches others how to see themselves as artists. As an artist herself, she recognizes the importance of helping students to develop confidence and a growth mindset so that they will persevere through challenges and seek opportunities to keep growing. This year, Charlie created a community with both her students and her colleagues, founded on choice, voice, and the importance of celebration. She even brought parents into the fold, something that she was terrified to do. But that's Charlie. She pushes herself to be the best that she can be and has produced a beautiful book that will be useful to anyone who wants to help students also see themselves as capable of anything they set their minds to.
It's been a real privilege to work with these individuals through this program. There are 3 themes that I want to touch on anyway. That is passion, persistence, and courage. And I'll just, in each of them in their own way, kind of exhibited these qualities. They were all reflective practitioners. They were all listened to students. They exemplified the things that Stacy talked about in her remarks. In fact, I asked Stacy to go ahead of me because I knew that she would say things that better than I could say them. So anyway, they exemplify all the things that Stacy was talking about. Joe Acker, Joe and I go back a long way. When Larry and I were first doing the New Urban High School project that led to High Tech High, we went to a school in Florida, in Broward County, Florida, called Ely High School, which was a finalist in our program, a really exemplary urban school working with very disadvantaged kids. And there was Joe at the center of that work. Years later, that was 1996. Years later, I came out to work with a group at Madison High School who were dividing into small learning communities to work with that group because I had been engaged in some similar efforts myself. There was Joe at the center of that work in Madison High School. Then we started High Tech High, North County. There's Joe in the center of that as a founding staff member. And now, in Joe's Action Research, he is a groundbreaker again. Alan Daly at UCSD has done some very interesting work with looking at adult networks in schools, and Joe has taken that work and applied it to student networks in schools in his own classroom and developed some fascinating insights, and what's most important, has asked his students to analyze the network findings himself and teach him
as he is teaching them about what's going on in that classroom and what makes those networks work. So once again, Joe is doing groundbreaking work, and next year he will be a founding staff member, once again, of the E-School at the library downtown in San Diego. We will miss him, but we're excited about this new adventure, and we know that our conversations will continue. Joe, come up. I have to smile when I say that name, and when I think of Kathleen. She has been so engaged in working with her students. She's also a groundbreaker who has left a secure job to start an uncertain venture with a new school and to work with kids in a kind of innovative structure and so on. But Kathleen's work, what's really groundbreaking about her work, is that she has combined a couple of things that are out there in the air. One being dialogue journals. A lot of people do dialogue journals, but those go between student and teacher. Critical friendship. Well, yeah, those happen with students. So Kathleen combined dialogue journals with cross-age critical friendships in her setting and did really groundbreaking work. Student voices appear powerfully everywhere in her work. And so that's what I remember about her work. It's around the question of what happens when I invite my students to co-design the senior year with me. And she went on a wonderful odyssey with her students. And it's not just a matter of saying, here you go, let's design this together. She prepared this carefully and thoughtfully, and she recognized that she would need to build, that they together would need to build a community before they could begin to think about designing projects together. She stuck with it with them. She broke ground with them, and the book that she has written about that is beyond belief. I think we're going to see it somewhere published by a major public publishing house. It really makes a contribution to our understanding of what seniors are about and how we can make their experiences in that final transitional year meaningful and significant for them. Stephanie. Bobby Shaddix. I have a Bobby Fantasy T-shirt in my bag. I was gonna wear it today, but it's just such a warm day that I'll put it on later. I'll wear it to the reception. Anyway, so what's the senior year about, and what happens if we ask students to design projects with us and design our work together? Bobby asked the same question in 6th grade. What happens if I ask 6th graders to co-design? Because Bobby, we all know, is a master project designer.
The humility to know that leadership is not about developing your own vision and trying to impose that on other people or making sure that you're stepping up and your voice is the loudest, but really stepping back and realizing that leadership is about serving the students and the teachers and the families in our schools, and that our schools are best when their ideas and their voices come out and you're really building leadership in others.
The program has shown us not the path, but has given us the tools to discover and blaze new paths. And I think that is incredible. So I walk away today with a master in education and teacher leadership. What does that mean? What does leadership mean in education? I think, like I said, I don't think that there's a definition that we walk away with, but I think that we know now going through this program that listening is important. We know that reflection must be constant. We know that we should always pursue our questions and always think deeply about what's going on in our practice. We have to consider the experience of the students and then strive for equity in both collegial conversation and within our classroom communities. And we also know that leadership requires vision, but that it has to be collaborative. And that is what we've experienced here in this program. I think, unlike any other program, I did not go through this alone, only looking at what I was doing, but really I was looking at what was going on with a large group of people. And it has pushed my thinking, and it has has opened me up to so many different directions in education. And I really, really want everybody to know that I just sincerely appreciate that opportunity to share these last 2 amazing years with you. And so now it is that I say farewell.
Last week, or 2 weeks ago, the Menzies Institute for Tasmania, they released some longitude research over 20 years where they looked at students to now after high school, long after high school, in their 20s. And they found in the research, is the first kind of research to be done like that, where the most important factor in terms of their success of what they do after high school and into a career or a job was how they felt and the experience of school in general. And that was above and beyond the academic performance that they had at school. And I think, I know for myself and my fellow graduates from the Leading Schools program that one thing that we focused on was the experience that students were having with our projects. And I think that's something that, for me, High Tech High is really focused in on, that the experience of school and that love of learning and that entire notion that it is important to enjoy what you're doing, and what you're doing has to have meaning to you. It goes beyond some statistic or grade that you receive, and that carries through with you in life. And so no matter how you finish up in grade 12, I tell my students that enjoy the experience, get a lot out of it, and for me, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of the people from Mark Oliphant, along with the other LSP graduates, that was something that really resonated with me and something I'll take away from my experiences at High Tech High. So this is full circle for me. I came here last year on a personal holiday to the US, my first personal trip to America, and I met Larry, Rob, Laura, Haley, and the entire team. And so it's a great way to close what's been a fantastic journey. And like I've said before, this is just the start of a new journey. So thank you. We really appreciate what you've done for us.
Wow, I've never seen him dance like that, in 3 years.